Hello Stampers, this is Michelle Zindorf and I have a fun project for you today. And today I'm highlighting the Encircled Nature stamp set and dies bundle. So let me give you a look at that. Here's the stamp set. You know I love my trees, so this has a few trees in it, some flowers, about everything you need for some nice nature scenes, and plus some beautiful cursive sentiments. So there you have the Encircled Nature stamp set. Then you have the coordinating dies here, Encircled Nature dies. There's a lot of dies here, and there's quite a few standalone dies too. So that's always nice to get those extra dies. Like this is a standalone die where you have a bunch of leaves. And there you have it. There's, oh, look at this wreath. Isn't that cool? So lots of nice dies here, and when you pick up the two together, you can buy them separately, but when you pick up the Encircled Nature dies with the stamp set, then you're going to save 10%. So let's get going on our main panel here. Now we're going to start with a Whisper White panel, and we're going to mask the bottom of this panel. We'll just mask like 1.5 inches here. And I've got a post-it note here. This panel here is 3 3/4, and you can find all the dimensions for this card down below this video. Just click Show More, and you'll see them down under the description. Now, to get your little post-it note to go straight across, a little tip is to line that paper up, that post-it note up with your cardstock on one side. Then you'll have a nice straight horizon line. So we have that going. And these post-it notes are 3 by 5. So I'm going to start with crushed curry up in the top of my sky. So I'm grabbing my crushed curry, and I'm going to use a blending brush here. And I'm just going to go back and forth here across the top of my panel here. I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to say like 2/3 of it, just back and forth. So that was our crushed curry. And our next color, let's do Highland Heather. Now we're going to do a shape here that could kind of look like it's like a hill way in the distance, or even a cloud. So we're going to grab a blending brush for this too, this Highland Heather. And I'm just going to make kind of a hill shape here. Make it come up here on the right side. So simple. And then just fill that in there, down to the post-it note. So that's kind of fun, right? So there's maybe our hill in the distance. So that's Highland Heather. And then we're going to bring in another color. I'm going to do Tahitian Tide. I'm going to take a little of that, and I'm going to go back and forth along this post-it note edge here and add some of that Tahitian Tide there. Now this is going to cover over some of your Highland Heather there. And if you found, like, I think I've covered up a little more than what I wanted to of that. So I'm going to go back in with that Highland Heather. You know, you can always fix stuff. And I think I'm just going to come a little higher with my hill and go a little bit more. No harm, no foul. There we go. So I have that going on there. And now let's take that post-it note off. Voila, we have a white area down there now. And I'm going to bring in some wild wheat. I love wild wheat as like grassy areas, especially fall or beginning of spring for the grass, when it's not quite that green, you know. So I'm just going to bring in Here we go. So wild wheat, and I'm just going to go back and forth here on the bottom. You can go up into that blue just a little bit, and what you're going to get, so when you go in that blue a little bit, is you're going to get an added color, because blue and yellow make green. And so you get just a hint of green, like garden green in that blue where that yellow has gone into it. So it's kind of fun. You didn't have to do anything extra to get that added color. Okay, so we have that. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this, it looks like a vine, or what do I want to call it? Like a branch vine, like a grapevine, you know, that doesn't have any leaves on it or anything. We're going to take that, and I'm going to do early espresso on this. That nice dark chocolate color. Ink that up. And then I'm going to figure out where I want this. Where's my best scene, part of the scene here? So I'm going to go kind of up towards the top. And the one thing I want to do is kind of have that opening in the design towards the bottom here. See, there's a break in that. So I have that in the bottom. So see how pretty that is? So we're going to be die cutting this out. So there is that. Now while I have that early espresso out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment here. And when I stamp this, I'm going to stamp it so that I make sure I have plenty of room for my trees. I better stand up and do this, as I will have it crooked for sure. So I'm going to have it over here on the right side. There we go. There's our sentiment. And it says here for you, but you can put any sentiment you want in there, like happy birthday, or, you know, thinking of you, thank you, all that good stuff. Okay, so we have that. So now how about some trees? We're going to use Old Olive for our trees. And there's this great tree stamp here. And it has trees like in a semicircle here. So that's what we're going to put on the inside of our ring here. I'm using Old Olive. Okay, so we'll just press that Old Olive in there. There we go. And now I'm going to put it so it just comes to the edge of that circle. And you want to kind of look to make sure your trees are standing upright, because it's sure is easy to stamp them at an angle, and what you don't want, you want your trees to be nice and straight and tall. Okay, so there's those trees. So that was Old Olive. All right, moving right along here. Now I'm going to take the die out of the Encircled Nature die set, and it's this outside one for our little twig wreath. And that is what I'm going to put in die cut. That's what I'm going to die cut this out with. And to line it up, there's a little nub here, and that goes in that opening. And you're going to see that you'll be able to line it up really easy that way by putting that nub in that little opening there. So I'm going to die cut this with my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I will be right back. Okay, I have that all die cut, and when you take it out, here is my little scene in that cutout. So that worked out perfectly. So now I'm just going to put my little die back here. And now we're ready to start putting things together. How simple did that come together? Okay, so we're going to adhere our main circle panel here on top of a panel of wild wheat. This wild wheat is 3.5-inch square. So we have that. And I'm just going to add this with multi-purpose glue, but you can use any adhesive you like. And I'm just going to center that up and make sure I have this to where my ground is like straight across. There we go. There is that. And then I'm going to add this on top of an Early Espresso panel that's 3 3/4. So that's going to go in there. Stacking these layers just seemed like a good idea. I think I really like how they came out here. Okay, so I have that. Now I want to kind of blend this Early Espresso panel into that wild wheat a little bit. So I'm going to grab a blending brush and my Early Espresso ink. And I just want to give some depth to our little scene here. So I'm going to take that Early Espresso and I'm going to add it to the corners in that wild wheat there. And it's okay to do it once you got your Early Espresso panel on, because you know what? It makes no difference. You can do it before you add that Early Espresso or after. And this kind of grunges it up, but it ties those together so they don't just seem like panels on top of panels. I don't know. Just gives it some depth. This last corner here. There we go. And I love the way that looks. Okay, so we have our card base here, and it's 5.5 by 8.5, and I folded it in half to create my quarter card. And I think I'm just going to take a bone folder here and crease it pretty good, just to lay it a little flatter. And then I have a wild wheat panel here that's 4 by 5.25. Let's add that to the front of our card. Then we're going to add our main panels here. And I'm going to try to center this up as best I can. I like that. And then I have my little trees here. Now I die cut these out of Early Espresso. Let me show you the die that I used. It's this one right here that has all the trees. And then there's another one that has smaller trees. We use this larger one here for our trees in this scene. And I just thought it'd be fun to have those out in front of our other trees. So I'm just going to add some adhesive here down the tree trunks. That should tack them just enough to hold them on there. And I'm only taking them down to the Early Espresso panel. I'm lining them up with that panel edge there. There we go. Just for a little more depth in our scene. Isn't that cute the way that is? Okay, so let's add some strips just for a little touch of something. So I cut 2 of these. This is Highland Heather, and I wanted to use Highland Heather just to bring that purple out in our scene. So these are 2 inches and they're 1/4 inch wide, tall. So 1/4 inch by 2 inch. And I'm going to add one up here at the top. And then one at the bottom. Very economical to do this. to add paper strips as elements in your card. Okay. I'm just going to bring that over. There we go. Now, I have a couple small pieces here. Now, these are a 1/4 inch square and they're early espresso. Just to add to the ends of our little Highland Heather strips there. So I just put a dot of glue on the end of that strip. I found that's the easiest way to do it. Instead of trying to put the glue on the little pieces of cardstock. So again, they're 1/4 inch square. And doesn't that bring that purple out when you put that on there? It's so simple. Okay, so I just want one more thing on the front, and I thought it'd be cute if I took some of this wild wheat jute trim. And I'm just going to take a length of it, enough to tie a bow with. Cut that off. And I wanted it to be multi-layered here. See how it's all fluffy and has a couple of them? But, well, you can't do that. I mean, you could, but it's going to be really thick if you try to use 2 strands just like this. So I'm just going to take these apart, these strands. See how they easily come apart. You're just going to untwine them. So there is one. And I just used 2 strands, but you could use as many of these strands as you wanted to. If you wanted more and more and more layers in your bow. But I just wanted 2. So I have 2 here. And I'm just going to kind of run them through my fingers a couple times just to straighten them out a bit. Then I'm just going to tie them in a bow. Just make a bow with them. And then you'll make them as big or as small as you want by pulling the little legs. And I just think that gives that little fluffy bow so much more. You can pull them up, the little bow parts apart. There we go. Cute, cute. And if you have too much fuzz on somewhere, you can always like cut it off. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these legs down and I just want to trim them up a bit. There we go. And there's my little bow, and I'm going to put it down here at the bottom. Sometimes I have to look at my little bow to see which side I want it on, because one side will be flat and the other side will not be flat. I think this is the flat side, so I'm going to use it. Now I'm going to take a mini glue dot. And I'm just going to add a mini glue dot right about where I want my bow. And then I'm going to stick that knot right on it, just to hold it on there nice and firm. So there is our little bow on the front. Super cute with its little layers. Okay, so there is that. Now for the inside, I just wanted to keep it simple. I have a wild wheat panel that is 4 by 5 1/4. You can stamp on this whatever you want. I'm leaving mine blank for now, as I most often do, till I'm ready to use my card. So I'm just going to add that to the inside. That's nice and coordinated. And if you haven't used wild wheat much, it is the perfect neutral to use, I think. I think we don't think of it as a neutral, but it does. It just about goes with everything. So there you have our project for today. I hope you enjoyed this project and that you give it a try. Thanks for joining me today. Take care. Toodles.